Good evening and welcome to Inside Kennedy Football, your weekly look inside the Eagle football program. My name is Josh Powers. Coming up on this episode, we will talk to the head coach, Kedrick Williams, about last week's game against Columbia Heights and a look ahead to tomorrow night's game, a quick week, a Wednesday game against Minneapolis Washburn, and perhaps the future possibilities for Kennedy's first playoff game, which will likely occur the following Tuesday. Also on this episode, we catch up with City BAA football director Jeff Winston, and a couple of the players stop by in the players segment as well, Lumen Kamoji and also Amarion Handspar. But first, the head coach, Kedrick Williams. You're back at home this week, but let's rewind to last week, Columbia Heights. You guys got off to a great start, but some elements. It was a tough weather night. Columbia Heights was able to come back and ultimately prevail against you guys on Friday night.
Thanks for having me again, Josh. Glad to be here. Yes, against Columbia Heights last week, we had a mission and a goal. We had to start fast. We wanted to score first, and we accomplished those goals. Unfortunately, as a rebuilding program, we had to learn how to keep that lead, how to continue to pound the ball, and ultimately pound our opponent.
You guys were able to come from behind a couple weeks ago, so definitely a different element playing with the lead. Let's take a look at some of the highlights for you guys, Coach. A great offensive night, especially running the football. Theo Simmons ends this game with 175 yards. Here you guys take the lead with early ground touchdown.
Right, and this again is in the first quarter here. Again, this just goes to our mission here. Avante Monroe, he just takes the quarterback sneak in our power line here and gets us in for 6 points.
Avante finishes with 75 yards rushing as well. You guys, as a team, almost 250 yards on the ground, which certainly those type of numbers you have to like.
We do like it. It was something that we focus on. It's something that we say, pound the ball, run the clock, really grinding football.
Let's get to your second touchdown here, Coach. This gave you a 14-0 lead. Not maybe it's quite as easy as a quarterback sneak, but you guys get it done from 14 yards.
And again, it's our workhorse, Theo Simmons there, gets outside. Once he's outside, it's pretty hard to stop him getting to that pylon.
That's true. I was watching you guys put a little notes in sometimes on your plays, and it said, great job to bounce it outside. Theo, why did you feel like that was a good call out?
Well, it's the read. As you see, that guy is coming up from the inside pretty hard there. Theo gets outside, gives him a little stiff arm to get a little bit more room and go ahead and score.
I like that finish, too. He's able to extend that over the pylon, actually inside the pylon for the touchdown. Your defense was making plays as well here. You're going to have a nice defensive play, you guys. Deion Barber forces a fumble right at the goal line, gives you guys the football back here defensively.
Right, this is really good because what happened with it is that number 44 for Columbia Heights, we knew him, we scouted him, and he had already got us earlier for a touchdown and almost got us for 2 here, but our guys have the never give up mentality, kept playing through the whistle, punched the ball out, and we got it back.
We'll try to bring that play up here in a moment if we can. But talk about maybe the elements. It was maybe the first cold, real Friday, and you had, not sure if you had snow up there in Columbia Heights. We had snow at the Jefferson game. But what was the challenge of playing in those weird, maybe not too unfamiliar elements in Minnesota, but for the first time this year, certainly that played a factor.
Right, and what I explained to the kids is all week long, snow is coming, the snow is coming, dress warm, prepare for it. You know, but the thing about weather is, Josh, you can't just physically prepare, you have to mentally prepare. And that's something that our kids had to learn. If you're going to play football here in Minnesota, you better get ready to be cold. You better know how October 1st comes around. You better be expecting something. We did have snow in that game, quite a few snow blurries. Looked like a little blizzard out there. But me, myself, I've coached in those elements before. As a kid, played in those elements. So I understood what to expect. But again, the mindset that it takes to be excellent in times like this when the weather is your challenge, it's a different mindset. And our kids had to learn that.
I want to get back to Theo Simmons. He had well over 100 yards in this game, Coach. He's closing in on 1,000 yards for the season. A senior year. I know he's had some cramping issues at times this year, but to watch, he's been such a critical part of this Kennedy program, as his older brother Max. To watch him have this type of a year for his senior year, it's got to be special and rewarding for you as the head coach as well.
Well, it is rewarding. It goes to one of our goals that we had. You know, one of the goals was to make sure we featured Theo Simmons and let the whole state of Minnesota know. As of today, he was in the top 20 for running backs in the state of Minnesota, so that speaks volumes, you know, for him. We've had a traditional running game here the last few years, but like you said, Max Simmons, Terrell Barber, now Theo Simmons. It's a kind of a couple of history of running backs at Kennedy High School.
We'll preview the opponent Minneapolis-Washburn in the final segment, as well as your first-round playoff game, too, likely to happen on Tuesday. But as a short week, what is the challenge? You played on Friday night. All of a sudden, it's Wednesday, MEA week. What are those challenges facing that short week?
Well, Josh, what it is practice and preparation. We weren't able to watch as much film this week. It was more about on-the-field practice. Giving individual homework for the film review portion of that, and really just getting the guys mentally ready to turn over to another game. For us, our focus is seniors this week. It is our senior night. What we're going to focus on, what I've asked the kids to do is kind of bring in pictures, bring in memories from their first football game. And we're going to focus on those tomorrow as we talk about the pregame speech and what it is and why the reason is you wanted to play this game in the first place when you were just a little kid and there was no one else around.
Well, that should make for even a more emotional night than usual. I love the idea, Coach. We'll talk more about senior night coming up tomorrow, 24 hours from now. You guys will be maybe close to halftime, but we'll talk to you about it in the final segment.
All right, we'll talk about youth football as well.
All right, we are. We're going to have the BA City Director, Jeff Winston, joins me next to talk about youth football. It is youth football night as well as senior night tomorrow for Kennedy, and that segment comes up right after the break on Inside Kennedy Football.
Straight. Almost a quarter of car crashes involve cell phones. When you text and drive, you look away at least 5 seconds. At 55 miles per hour, that's the length of a football field. Time out. It's illegal in 39 states to text and drive, but you're in danger everywhere when you don't focus. So keep your eyes on the road and arrive alive. No text, no wrecks. So don't text and drive.
Back on Inside Kennedy Football, Kennedy's senior night tomorrow against Minneapolis-Washburn at Bloomington Stadium, 7 o'clock start on BEC-TV, or better yet, head on out to the stadium, support Eastside Pride in their final regular season home game of the year. And it's also youth football night, a perfect time for my next guest to join, Jeff Winston, repeat guest on Inside Football, but always great to catch up with you. You're the city director for football for BAA. Thanks again for dropping by.
Thanks very much for having me. It's nice to be here again.
For those that don't know, we do have some viewers outside of the Bloomington area that catch us on our Facebook feed, but what exactly is BAA? Because growing up in the city of Bloomington, I played BAA every year, but for those that don't know, what is BAA?
Sure, it's a multi-sport association that's a nonprofit association for kids to really have the opportunity to come out and compete in a lot of different sports. We're sort of the anomaly amongst BAA because we treated more like a traveling sport for BAA, but we are the youth football association within Bloomington, and so we've got a great flag program for kids kindergarten through 4th grade now. And we've also got the tackle program as 4th grade through 8th grade, and we're a part of South Suburban Youth Football League, which is this is our first year of fully integrating with them for our tackle grades 4th through 8th. So really great program. I'm proud to be representing it and be able to help the future of our football program here in Bloomington. So
talk about the history of BAA, because many people don't know. BAA is a very special organization, not just in Minnesota, but nationwide. So talk about that.
Yeah, it's the largest volunteer association in the country, I believe, is the last the news that I've heard. And it's got we're over 60 years old, and it's just been it's a great association, and really it's fed off of the volunteers in the community who step forward. And I'm always looking for great volunteers to help come lead these young kids and coach these teams, and it's just such a gratifying position to be out there with the kids and to help them learn a new sport and to continue their development within the sport is just it's really a lot of fun. So it's fun to give back to the community in that way.
You mentioned football is unique to BAA because the sports that I play, I never played football. Stature probably tells a story about that, but I played basketball and I played baseball and I played soccer every year. I never got to play against a team from outside the city of Bloomington, so has to be kind of nice to, when you strap on those pads, or even from at the flag football level, to take on some of the teams from some of those surrounding cities.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been the SSYFL has been the greatest thing that we've done for the youth football in Bloomington. For a while there, we partnered with Burnsville, and just really there was some challenges that way as far as having enough competition. We started by integrating when we took the middle school football back from the schools and brought that back into BAA. We were able to really integrate more fully with the SSYFL then at 7th and 8th grade. And what has happened through that is we've developed these relationships, and the league really was looking at how do we bring this to our lower levels, our lower grades, so we're not just always beating our heads against the kids that we go to school with and are sitting next to in class. And let's actually diversify and build, the community around our football and within Bloomington. So we can really be proud of going out there and playing against these other communities and competing very well. And it's worked out great. This was our first year, as I said, 4th through 8th grade, everybody's competing in SSYFL, and it's got some great competition and fun games to go watch, and the kids seem to be having a blast out there, and that's what's important. So,
being that it is the first year, so what has the feedback been? And then for those that aren't aware, what are some of the other cities that are involved in the SSYFL?
Sure. So the biggest thing, the biggest transition was obviously asking younger parents to travel. We had the 7th and 8th grade and really was treated more of a travel program. So what we've tried to do is make sure that those games that are for the younger kids aren't scheduled at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, so that the parents have to drive down to Farmington and be there, an hour early for warm-ups and everything. So it's being sensitive to that, where the commitment level is a little bit, different at the 4th and 5th grade level than 7th and 8th grade. And then, the competition level has been phenomenal for those kids. So the early feedback was great. We were able to schedule out these games, and again, just really have a diverse amount of competition. You're only going to play your 8 games, so you're seeing 8 different competitive teams and from different communities around us. So the communities are Burnsville, Lakeville North, Lakeville South, Farmington, Shakopee, the entire Eastview, Egan, Apple Valley group, District 196 over there. And just great, we've got a diverse amount of competition from some older communities that are very similar to us, where they're going through the same sort of transition that we are as a community, but also some younger communities where they've got, up and coming football programs where their populations are still growing significantly, and they got young families out there. So it's been great. It's really a lot of fun to go to those games, and as I said, it's just great competition for the kids, and we were talking about it earlier. The 8th grade teams, our 2 Bloomington teams, just by chance had to play each other in the first round of the playoffs, which you can't avoid it. It's the playoffs, but they're just based on the seeding. But to see those kids out there competing hard against each other, and then hugging each other after the game, and grouping up for a photo at midfield was just fun to see. That's what's telling me we're doing the right things for these kids, that they're enjoying it. So
you had some great coaches this year. We were talking off air, but also some teams that advanced very far in the playoffs. So really quickly touch on some of those teams and some of the coaches that made that possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ted Schultz at the 8th grade level, he took his team to the championship and won the 8th grade championship. So kudos to Ted, and that's his 2nd championship in a row within SSYFL. He also had a BAA championship prior to that, but so he won the 7th grade SSYFL championship and now the 8th. And then Dan Cagley is down coaching his younger son at the 4th grade level, and took their team through and won the championship as well. So really proud of those guys. And it's more than that. We love winning championships, but at this youth level, it's about teaching these kids, developing them, giving them fundamentals. So when we turn them over to Kedrick and Tim, that they have great fundamentals, and that they understand and love the game. And so that's the most important part. So there's some unsung heroes, coaches that didn't win as many games, but didn't win championships, but did a great job, helping those kids develop, and that's what's the most important. So
my broadcast partner Daryl Moffitt would be one of those. I'll talk to him about that tomorrow night, heading into the game. But great to catch up with you as always, Jeff. Keep running that great program. It sounds like the SSYFL partnership has gone well, so we wish you all the best of luck.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh. Again, thanks for having me on.
All right, that's Jeff Winston, BAA City Football Director. Up next on Inside Kennedy Football, the Players segment with Lumen Kamoji and Amarian Hanspard when we come back.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again. But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Back on Inside Kennedy Football, senior night for the Eagles tomorrow night against Minneapolis Washburn. 7 o'clock start right here on BEC-TV and also, of course, at Bloomington Stadium. So head on out and cheer on the Eagles. Player segment time now. Amirion Hanspard and Lumen Kamoji. Thanks a lot, guys, being on Kennedy Football for the very first time. So we ask all of our guests, we'll start with you, Amirion. When did you start playing football? When did you know you might be good enough to play football at the high school level for Kennedy?
I started tackle in 3rd grade. It was always a family game we used to play. My brother played for Kennedy, Nate Eckerson. You know, we always loved football, so I decided to keep continuing playing.
How about you, Lumen?
Oh yeah, I started in 5th grade. And I was just bigger than most of the kids, and you know, a lot of people told me I could be good at it, so I just kept pursuing it. Yeah.
What were some of the positions that you played growing up, since you were one of the bigger guys that gravitated to that offensive and defensive line, I would imagine?
Yeah, I played O-line most of the time, and also a little bit of D-line too. Yeah.
How about you, Amirion? You're not the biggest guy in the world, obviously, in terms of weight. So, what positions were you assigned to at an early age?
I played everywhere. I played quarterback, running back, receiver, corner, safety, everything. But now I play receiver and corner.
Amirion, you had one of the bigger plays of Kennedy's season a couple weeks ago with that game-sealing interception and that comeback win on homecoming. From your perspective, obviously you jumped the route. What did you see on that play? And then once you had the ball in your hands, how good of a feeling was that knowing that you guys were going to bring home that W?
They ran that same play earlier in the game, and they got me. So I knew he was running. And as soon as he ran at me, I knew he was doing a hitch. So I jumped the route and tried to take it to the house. But I should have stayed left on the catch. But I was worried about getting blocks. But at least we got the win.
So you weren't thinking about just taking a knee and then handing the ball to the official? You wanted to take it all the way back?
I want to take it all the way. I want to score.
How about you, Lumen? What has this season been like for you, and what have you focused on your game to try to improve this year?
My game, I just focused on being the best lineman on the right side as I can, getting blocks for Theo, because we have a crazy running back this year, and also a little bit on D-line, pushing through the line, just maintaining the gaps. You know, just being the best player I could be for the team.
To watch Theo go for the amount of yards that he has, to be a part of that team up front that's moving him, he wouldn't get those yards without you guys being effective. How rewarding has that been for you this season to watch the running game for Kennedy be so successful as it has been?
Yeah, we have our run game is really powerful, so that's what we try to focus on. And, you know, we have a great running back for that, and the O-line's been working really hard this season to try to provide the gaps and the holes for him to go for 100 yards, you know, anything he can. Yeah.
I know you guys are involved in some other activities outside of football, so what does that look like from your perspective, Amirion?
I play basketball. Yeah.
We heard you're a pretty good shooter. Is that the strength of your game at basketball? I would imagine you're a guard. Your height wouldn't be conducive to like a center, right?
Yeah. I play point guard, shooting guard. Yeah, everybody says I'm the best shooter in the school.
Okay. Like
it's true.
The Steph Curry of Kennedy, like a combo guard?
Yeah, that's what they call me.
All right. How about you, Lumen?
I play basketball also, and I play 4 and 5, so that's the power forward in the center. You know, get out there, get rebounds, putbacks. You know, 2 little points. You know, I'm not much of a shooter like him though. You know, I stay close to the baseline.
Be nice for you to beat him in a game of horse, get some bragging rights though, right?
I can. I did before. He's not gonna admit it though, but I did.
All right, guys. What are some of the things that you're looking to accomplish here? Obviously, you have senior night. It's a big emotional night. Coach Williams asked you to bring some memorabilia with you tomorrow. Care to share what that memorabilia might be, and what are you looking forward to for that senior night, Lumen?
Senior night, we're just hoping to make history. Win on senior night for seniors especially. It's a game. It's a big game for them. So yeah, we just have to win.
How about you, Marianne?
Yeah, same thing. It's a big game for the seniors. I know they want this win. It's their last game here. So I'm going to just do what I can do to help them get this win.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you tomorrow night. Best of luck on this short week, and we hope you guys bring home the W.
Thank you.
All right. Final segment coming up with the head coach, Kedrick Williams. We'll talk about the senior night game against Minneapolis Washburn and also the possibilities for their first-round playoff game next week on Inside Kennedy Football.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of you or your families, asking you to put yourself in harm's way to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep you secure for the rest of your life. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
Back on Inside Kennedy Football, senior night for Kennedy tomorrow against Minneapolis Washburn. Of course, also youth football night. So head on out to the stadium, 7 o'clock start, and cheer on the Eagles to back-to-back home wins, we hope, over Minneapolis Washburn. Back with head coach Kedrick Williams. It's a short week. It's a busy week. You mentioned youth football night, senior night. It's an emotional week. So what has it been like from your perspective as we approach game time about 24 hours from now?
It really hasn't been that bad in that essence. Something I'm really focused on is youth football. Like Mr. Winston said before, I've worked with BAA this year to try to really see what Bloomington, the future of Bloomington youth football is. A lot of people know that I spent the last 20 years in Minneapolis building youth football with the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. The great thing about that is now that comes full circle as about 17 of my former kids play for Washburn High School. So, of course, I'll get to see them, hug with them, shake up with them before the game. But during the game, we'll get to play some good head games with those guys.
So how familiar are you still with, obviously you're familiar with the city of Minneapolis. I would have to imagine you're pretty familiar not only with what Washburn has done maybe in the past, but also some of their current coaches and what they want to do on the field against you guys.
Coach Ryan Galindo is a good personal friend of mine. Coach Reggie Perkins, the athletic director, is another good friend of mine. So I do keep in touch with those guys, even before we, when the schedule first came out, we all went out, of course, for dinner and everything and hung out. And it was just funny because it's the last game of the year. It's that game before playoffs, really. But this year is at my house. And our house, in Bloomington Stadium. And, that's a big thing they talked about, as opposed to having to come back to the city program that I helped build for many years. We've had a lot of kids go through the pipeline of McCray Park, where I was at, to Washburn, to the Gophers or other D1 schools. So with that being said, I have a very good relationship with not only the coaches there, but the community of Washburn, too. I will always keep those guys in my heart. I will always thank them and the parents, past and present, for the things that they helped me accomplish and grow in this game of football.
And they've had an excellent year so far, 5-2 Minneapolis Washburn. So what are some keys to victory from the head coach's perspective tomorrow night?
Well, a couple things they have not done. They have not played a quarterback. They have not played an aggressive defense. They have not played against things that we're going to bring to the table. So that's a positive, and that's what I tell my kids. Yes, they have some speed. Yes, they have some size. But, with us, it's really about that pride, that heart. We're playing at Bloomington Stadium, and knock on wood, but we have had some great games there at home this year.
That's true.
Some really, really competitive games, more so than in the past. So that's really where we're going to hang our hat on, Josh, trying to really just, again, get the lead, keep that lead, and really just keep pushing on.
Do want to touch quickly, the first round of the playoffs are coming up next Tuesday. Our next show is not until the following Thursday. So I know your opponent isn't set yet, but with a new district and a bunch of new playoff possibilities there, have you started scouting scouting some of the teams that are in that mix, and who are some of the teams that maybe could be an opponent for you guys in the quarterfinal round?
Well, it's crazy because with the new districts and everything, our section is actually still the same.
Okay.
So we're going to see like foes. We have Apple Valley. Of course, St. Thomas is ahead of our section. They're number 1, of course. Except this year, this difference has been scored on, their defense. But I'll tell you, Apple Valley right now is number 2. They're a possibility we might play. Park Cottage Grove is another team we might play. And, of course, Hastings is also the last possibility. So Apple Valley and Hastings play each other. So they're going to bump each other. Then Park Cottage Grove is kind of the odd man sitting out. So we won't know actually to who we play until about Wednesday at about 11 p.m.
Or even where there's a possibility where
Correct.
you guys could even move up to have a home game too.
Yes.
But
Yes.
a lot of possibilities, Coach. It starts with a win
Yes.
tomorrow. So
Yes.
so final words for you as we head on out.
You know, I just want to thank everyone for a great season and the community and everything. Again, from the time I was named the head coach, this community has really been behind me. I appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor this week, TGK Automotive, over there on Lindale Avenue. And come out next Tuesday. I don't know where you are. So I have my 45th birthday that night. So my present will be everybody coming to the game and us getting the win for the playoffs.
All right, hopefully a special night. We will catch up with you not Thursday, but the following Thursday
Yes.
on Inside Kennedy Football, hoping for a semifinal opponent after a quarterfinal win for you guys.
Thank you.
All right, that's head coach Kedrick Williams. Again, the Eagles senior night tomorrow against Minneapolis Washburn, 7 o'clock start on BEC-TV and also at Bloomington Stadium. That'll wrap up this edition of Inside Kennedy Football. For our entire crew, this is Josh Powering saying good night from our studios.